What's good, y'all? I'm here to talk about the GOAT, Raging Bolt. I've got some really cool buffs and changes from my boy that I'll cover in just a second. But before I can get into explaining my thought process behind the buffs and changes, I want to have a quick disclaimer for anybody who's new here. A shout out to you. I appreciate you clicking on the video. I highly recommend that you just pause the video and give the description a read. It's got a lot of basic information about the ROM hack and the way I'm approaching balancing, and it'll answer a lot of your questions that you might have. When you're done with the video, you can check out my other ones. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, especially if you're a returning viewer and you're not subbed yet. It helps out. The channel helps me get my, work out to more people, help support my work in general. So make sure you also drop a comment, all that good stuff. I know it's kind of annoying when people ask for this, but it does really help out a lot. So make sure you do that. But yeah, when you're done with the video, not only can you check out my other videos, join my Discord, all that good stuff, you can also check out the Google Sheet link down below. Don't click off yet because it'll mess up the watch time, but when you're done with this one, give this move sheet a look. It's got all the moves organized into categories, and that is obviously fundamental for understanding how all of the Pokemon buffs and changes actually work, right? Because it's the moves. That's very important. Um, with all that out of the way, though, I also do appreciate my returning viewers very much. Appreciate you guys also sitting through the intro every time. But yeah, Raging Bolt, the GOAT. So I limit huge power to Pokemon that are either absolutely massive, that do not have the BST for being mixed attackers. So for example, in Sweltering Sun, stuff like Wailord and Guzzlord, and then in this case, Raging Bolt, and a couple others I believe I have slotted for it. Maybe not too many. I think it's only like a couple. This might be the only big guy that I have slotted for huge power. I have to check my list later, but um, yeah, that's really cool, of course, because they still get the really good bulk and high special attack, and alongside having, the insane huge power boost. And then they get two other abilities that can give them defensive utility or special attacking, prowess and all that fun stuff. And yeah, logically, I restrict this to either Pokemon. Okay, like for example, Wigglytuff. It's along the lines of things like Diggersby and Azumarill. So that's one group of Pokemon I can give huge power to. It's pretty much just those guys, right? It's Azumarill, Wigglytuff, and then giant Pokemon, again, that are limited in their BST, despite me wanting to make them super tanky and super strong on both sides of the spectrum. And this huge power is a great solution, and it is kind of a pun on the name, huge power. I think it makes a lot of sense. So that's my philosophy with giving out huge power. I don't just throw it around willy-nilly. Obviously, it's an incredibly strong ability, and this is no exception. So that's 73 base attack. If you're not super well versed in how stat calculation works or how the little nitty gritty things. 73 base attack with huge power is not base 146 attack. That's already very strong, of course, but it's actually much more than that. It multiplies the actual numerical stat value, not the base stat. So your base attack is roughly equivalent to like I believe 220-ish. I can quickly fact check that, but I'll fact check that in a second. But I want to hit home that the other flavor choices. So for Drizzle, for example, both Raikou and Raging Bolt will share that ability. They also both share Wild Bolt, Storm, and Thunderclap, and all the other cool stuff. But I'll get into those later. But Drizzle, flavor-wise, I think is really, really cool because they are literally. I mean, especially Raikou, right? Raikou's whole thing is like. Hold on, I gotta type it in. Raikou's whole thing is like he literally has a storm cloud on his back, like a rain cloud on his back. So if you read all the decks, it says he carries thunderbolts and falls with lightning. The rain clouds it carries, etc., etc. So Drizzle is super, super dope in that regard. And then Raging Bolt can be pretty much the same logic, although it doesn't talk about how it summons the rain. And in fact, he doesn't even get Rain Dance normally. I'm assuming because he's the past Paradox guy and they wanted to hit home the sun synergy. But I think it's super cool for him to still have that. I mean, that's still a rain cloud. Like it's not like it's changed. He can still make it rain. He's got the whole Thunderbolt vibe going on. So making it rain is super cool, given that he is still again carrying this big thundercloud here. So that's what the logic for Drizzle, and of course it's really cool for a lot of reasons. Not only for the obvious, oh my god, Thunder, Hurricane, and Weather Ball. That's all very cool. Don't get it twisted. I love that. But there are other uses, of course. So team support is a big one. Just enabling your allies if they have rain abilities. Of course, removing the weather on the opponent's side. If you're, fighting a boss fight that has like a drought Pokemon or whatever, it's nice to switch in your Drizzle, Raging Bolt. And it's nice to have Drizzle on a non-water type in general. It's pretty unique in that regard. And then, yes, of course, you do get really good coverage with Weather Ball, 100 base power, Water Move, Hurricane not missing. It's 120 or 125. Sometimes I tweak things as time goes on, so I have to double check. I think it's 125 now. Yeah, 125. So Thunder, Hurricane, 125 base power. Thunder with Drizzle is even stronger than High Voltage. However, you can run High Voltage with photosynthesis, which is great. And of course, photosynthesis is still as good as always. You can run them in the sun with that solar beam and fire type weather ball and stuff like fire blast, flamethrower, heat wave, etc. or you can just straight up run them, with booster energy, depending on the situation. Because it's nice to be able to switch moves, unlike something with choice specs. Not that choice specs Thunderclap is bad, but for example, like booster special attack, photosynthesis, wild bolt storm into Thunderclap / shockwave / twister is all a really good priority combo. So another benefit. So as you can imagine, I was trying to get at this earlier. The attack difference is huge, right? Because huge power is base 220, and a special attack is 141, which is obviously still incredibly powerful, but the way I make up for that huge discrepancy in their stats is number one, of course, just the versatility and utility that photosynthesis and drizzle provide, but also the essentially the what am I trying to say here? The move pool. Yeah, the move pool is tailored. I mean, of course, they still have strong physical moves, and even something like 100 base power wild charge, 20% recoil wild charge, 100 base power is still incredibly powerful coming off of that 73 attack with huge power. But you have stronger options on the special side for all of your moves, basically. So you've got Dragon Hammer, which is your strongest physical move in terms of raw, output, stab, all that crap. And technically, Outrage is stronger, but that's not a real move, man. At least in a Nuzlocke context, that's not a real move. It's there. Yes, in some niche cases you can click it, but I would never really be clicking that personally in a Nuzlocke. So mostly it's Dragon Hammer, right, which is 120. It's essentially Dragon type double edge. So that's really strong, of course. I mean, I don't need to explain why that's strong. And then, of course, your wild charge is heavily outdamaging your thunder, for example. It just depends on the situation. Because in this ROM hack, you have access to infinite move relearner, and you can change your sets whenever you need to. You can swap to a special set if you need to OHKO something with like a weaker special defense stat, and then you can switch to the other attacking stat. Or you can run a purely mixed attacking set for each boss fight. It just depends on the situation. It depends on your other teammates. It depends on the plan that you're pathing out for that boss fight. In terms of defensive utility, this guy has all types of good shit too. Of course, he's got his good old reliable like Volt Switch taunt stuff, but he's also got both Recharge and Morning Sun for healing. Recharge is especially awesome with your priority moves in Thunderclap, Wild Bolt Storm, and Shockwave. So that's another advantage for the special sets. That's a huge advantage for the special sets, is that they get tons of priority options. While on the physical side, the only priority move you have is First Impression. I personally don't see them using Spark at all. Spark is a electric type quick attack. I don't really see them using it personally. I don't really see them like dashing forward with that much speed at all. But yeah, it's a really cool way to incentivize those special sets because you have priority Twister and Shockwave, and then you've got even stronger Thunderclap, and then at the end of the game you've got the OP guaranteed flinch, 1 PP Wild Bolt Storm cheese, which is not only very good just for a flat out 90 base power priority move, single use doesn't really matter when it's an in-game context because you can just click it, at the perfect time. It's also incredible because it also paralyzes, so even if you're not one-shotting something, you can Wild Bolt Storm, outspeed them the next turn, and then kill them with another move or Parabolic Charge, HP back. That's a really cool way you can abuse it. Parabolic Charge and Arcane Fangs on this guy go crazy as well, with or without like Assault Vest. You just tank so many damn hits because your bulk is so good now. So I do try to base HP a lot more on the size of the Pokemon. The other two, I've said this on all the videos for these guys, but they all follow like a stat trend. So they all have 121 HP except for Raging Bolt, who has even more, 141, because he's ginormous. But all the other guys are also ginormous, right? They're huge. So I gave them all big HP stats. And then they also have like 141 here, 141 here. So, some cool little numbers going on there. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's as good as I could get it while still having the other stats the way I wanted them to be. This guy's so cool, man. So, yeah. Arcane Fangs is also great with huge power, because you're healing. It's essentially physical. It's Dragon type Drain Punch, right? It's 85 base power, Dragon type Drain Punch, so that's really good. You heal off damage there. And then you have, like, for special sets, you've also got higher base power moves. That's another difference. So, for example, like Draco Meteor will often outdamage Dragon Hammer in a lot of situations. And then I would say just the main pro of the special sets outside of the utility abilities and stuff is just how strong the priority moves that this guy gets are. I mean, Wild Bolt Storm into Thunderclap is like an insane combo, right? Let alone just straight up Twister or Shockwave, which is even more reliable because you don't have to worry about other stuff. And then again, as I covered earlier, you can also just use it to outspeed something the next turn, so you can chip them. It's also good for breaking sashes. I mean, there's so many ways you can abuse that Wild Bolt Storm. Super crazy move on him. And of course I chose to give him that because he's this Thunderstorm, Thundercloud type guy. It's pretty much all electric flying types, like Zapdos, Tornadus, not Rotom of course, but Zapdos, Tornadus, Kilowattrel, and then Raikou, both of Raikou's forms. Raging Bolt and Raikou itself. So that's all really cool. Of course, he's got tons of coverage, both on the physical and special side of the spectrum. So he's got no shortage of stuff to run there. But yeah, Draconic Voice is also a great special set pro because while Draco Meteor and Draconic Beam, well, Draconic Beam is the same power as Draconic Voice. It's just that Draconic Voice is exclusive. It's essentially Dragon type Boom Burst. It's 120 base power, no drawback, right? So that's incredible. Draconic Beam's recoil is very minor because you've got such a giant HP stat, and then in general, recoil is really easy to circumvent in an in-game context. But it's even nicer to have a no drawback option, especially because you can run it with like Throat Spray. Like you can do Draconic Voice, Throat Spray into Priority Thunderclap, Wild Bolt, Storm Cheese, and you've also got Recharge too. So you could do like Draconic Beam, the Draconic Voice, Throat Spray, into other cheese like Recharge into your priority moves. I mean, Recharge into your priority moves is insanely strong, really, because you're so tanky. You don't even need to run special attack EVs at that point. You can just run like max HP defense, max HP special defense, click Recharge, heal yourself by a third of your HP, and then hit them back with, that super powerful priority electric move coming off that 141 special attack. So that's all super fun to abuse. Short Circuit is great. That is essentially special. It's electric type burn up, and it also always paralyzes, so you can use that and combo into another attack on the next turn. And then also it's really cool if you click it in front of like a Pokemon that's going to use a ground move on you. Of course, not a ground type, but a ground move in front of you. You can click that Short Circuit to remove your your ground weakness, which is pretty cool to live the hit better. But yeah, Zap Cannon, Draco Meteor, high base power. Zap Cannon is essentially electric type Draco Meteor now. So that's all really good. Yeah, I mean, he's still, again, as I covered earlier, like the fact that he doesn't have high base power stab moves, anything over 100 base power, which is already, again, incredible 100 base power, especially with 73 attack and huge power. But he does have Supercell Slam for 130 power, but that's very, like, you can only use it with Wide Lens, basically. And I mean, if you need to, like, one-shot something that's, like, super slow, I guess you could run, like, Wide Lens Supercell Slam on him. But it's not really that good because then at that point you can just run like Banded Wild Charge or some shit. I guess if you want to take no recoil, I don't know, some niche application for Supercell Slam I'm sure is there, but it's obviously not the best move on this guy, at least in a Nuzlocke context, of course. But yeah, I mean, even like DD late game is obviously very strong. I already to explain why that's good. It's got 2 PP, but that's all you need. So another thing is like Scarf, Raging Bolt. So I did lower the speed. I should have covered that earlier. I think that just makes sense. I don't see him really being as fast as 75. I could have kept it just because that's what he had, but I wanted him to have more stats for the 141 HP. I think it makes more sense and it's cooler. And also I just don't think. I think the lower his speed is, the better, because then he's less incentivized to just spam Scarf every fight. Because Choice Scarf base 63 is still good. I've covered this in the Brute Bonnet video. It outspeeds base 95, so that's pretty good. Base 96 even, so 96 and below, you're outspeeding on the AI's team. And of course, if you get lucky plus Speed Nature, Raging Bolt, then you're going crazy. Then you're hitting 352. Then you're outspeeding base 110 Pokemon. But that's luck. That would be if you got lucky. And of course, Scarf for both Drizzle or for huge power goes crazy. Yeah, it's really straightforward. Other than that, I mean, again, you've got that really cool Rain move pool, Rain utility. You can even just like Drizzle Volt switch into your Rain Abuser if you want, or just eject button out. And also, as for the flavor of why I chose Draconic Voice there, and why I also gave it to Walking Wake, I think it's cool because they're dinosaurs, and they're known. I mean, they don't actually all roar and shit, but it's like kind of a stereotype. Dinosaurs, they make the big roar. For example, they even get Noble Roar by level up in Vanilla, I believe. Yeah, all of them get Noble Roar, every single one of them, which is what Battlecry is now, by the way. Battlecry, that drops, it's the same thing as Noble Roar, but it doubles. It's double the effect, so it's -2, which is really, really good. Of course, for utility and, just being a fat tanky mon with Morning Sun or Recharge plus Battlecry. And you've also got debuffing moves like Ancient Power as well, but if you want to run like an AV Parabolic Charge, Ancient Power crap to 1v1 something or stall out a little bit. So definitely very versatile. Of course, as always, I chose to give him Brutal Swing because even though they aren't actually giraffes, they still have like that giraffe aesthetic, even though I know they're supposed to be a sauropod. And as you know, giraffes will swing their necks around. It's also why I gave him Whiplash. It's a cool little nod to that. And of course, Brutal Swing is a very strong physical recoil move. It's Dark type Double Edge, so that's good coverage. And also, if you got like funny Terra, like dude, there's so many cool Terra types on this guy as well. Like if you pulled Terra Dark or Terra Flying or Terra Fire would be sick, or Terra Grass. All these Terra types are so cool with either the sun or the rain. So that's all really fun. Superpower, that is essentially physical fighting type Draco Meteor, so that's really good as well for huge power sets. Even double edge would be good if you pulled Terra Normal. That's why it's there. Uh, Ancient Force is nice for some niche coverage once in a while. If you really need to hit something with a very specific coverage move that you don't have anybody else on your team for. It's pretty niche because you really can't run a speed boosting item or defense boosting item or any utility item with it. You have to run the plate. But in some very niche applications, it could be useful for sure. And also, it's just there for flavor because all of the ancient Paradox Pokemon get that move now. And that functions like Judgment if you're new here and you don't know that yet. That's Judgment essentially. So it's not that good actually, but it's it's there. Could be useful for especially earlier on. Like if you in the early 50s, you could probably maybe use it. High Voltage is really good because obviously you can't use it with Scarf. You can't click it twice in a row, so you can't spam it with Scarf. But other than that, it's basically a drawbackless move. However, Drizzle plus Thunder, as I covered earlier, is stronger than that, so definitely something to keep in mind. But with Protosynthesis sets, you could use High Voltage for sure. Yeah. That's basically it. I think I've covered everything I want to talk about. Again, that Thunderclap is nuclear. I mean, it's 75 power. The downside is pretty obvious, though. When you're fighting AI, you don't even really, like, sometimes it's a little hard to know if they're, I mean, it actually isn't hard to know if they're going to use a status move or not, but you have to make sure that they won't, like, in terms of kill ranges and stuff. And because Raging Bolt is so tanky, a lot of them won't see an Oko or a kill on him, so they might go for, like, the setup move or the status move instead of the attacking move, and then your Thunderclap will fail. However, if it's like a 1 PP Swords Dance set on the AI or a 2 PP Dragon Dance, you could in theory just spam Thunderclap until they run out of PP, and then once they start actually having to attack you, they'll click it. But if it's like a status move, like a sleep move, then you definitely should not be clicking Thunderclap. So that's the use for Shockwave. Of course, is that it's consistent priority, so you don't have to worry about anything with the AI. And then, of course, Shockwave is significantly earlier. It's available from the start of the game. Not that you'll be getting these guys at the start. You'll be getting them in the mid, probably early 50s, if I had to guess. I'm not sure exactly yet. That's for later on for me to decide. But yeah, super simple overall. Not simple, I guess, but straightforward. Heat Crash is really cool with huge power as well as Temper Flare. Both of those are very strong physical fire moves on him. Bulk Up is there for some setup cheese, but it's a little bit more niche. Not bad. It's good with like heal moves and stuff. It's just I don't really want to turn myself into a crit magnet personally. Calm Mind is better because you have priority moves, so you can actually like abuse that a good amount. Meteor Beam is also really cool with your priority moves as well. It's pretty cool, like the combo after you click Meteor Beam. Honestly, you're bulky enough to go for raw Meteor Beam. I also realized I didn't give them Electro Shot, but they already have a crowded learn set. I don't know where I would throw it on there. And honestly, I kind of want to encourage Meteor Beam anyways. It's a cool move on them because like the dinosaurs, the Meteor. So I think that's cool. So I'll probably leave it no Electro Shot. I think it's fine. But yeah, that Parabolic Arcane Fangs is great for healing as well as your actual healing moves. Even Roar is useful. Another really cool way to abuse Roar on this guy is Roar Throat Spray. That's honestly kind of broken because it's a 1 PP. I might have to even change that at some point, either to just not be a sound move for whatever reason or something else. But for now, it's a cool combo you can try because you can get that free 1 PP priority switch out on the opponent. And the only downside is actually, it's a pretty big downside, is that you don't know what's going to come in next. It's random, which makes pathing really difficult. So you have to make sure that whatever comes in next, you're prepared for. But for example, if your +1 special attack Twister is enough to, or Wild Bolt Storm into Twister / Shockwave combo is enough to kill whatever's coming out next at +1, then by all means go for that Roar for that free boost. Because stuff like Calm Mind takes a turn and you have to take damage, while Roar is literally a free boost. Again, just you have to keep in mind what you're going to be facing in. That's basically it. I mean, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Rush, those are consistent 100 base power, no drawback options. I already covered Short Circuit. Yeah, I've covered pretty much everything that's super necessary. Obviously, Breaking Swipe is a great debuffing move with your healing moves. Chilling Water and Dismal Cry are options as well. You could even do some like Charge Beam shenanigans if you want to. I mean, there's all types of ways you can run this guy. I threw Aura Sphere on there. I was saying with Walking Wake is because I even threw it on Gouging Fire, even though he's not clicking that ever, just because the base forms get Aura Sphere, and I think it makes sense for them to learn it as well. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening. Shout out to you if you made it to the end. I guess the last thing I'd cover is like physical sets. Also, like physical versus special has unique coverage advantages. So, for example, special Drizzle has Hurricane. There's no physical flying move for them to use. As for rock moves, I mean, you do have Meteor Beam, but discounting that, you have Rock Slide and Stone Edge on the physical side. So there's cool little niche applications like that. Where it's like, oh, they get a stronger move of this variant on the physical or special side of the spectrum. So that's more reason to use one or the other, depending on the situation. So, yeah, super dope overall. Love this guy, man. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Holy shit, 20 minutes. Jesus Christ. All right, goodbye. Thanks for listening. Shout out to you if you made it to the end. Leave a comment if you did, and I'll be back for more. Peace.